August 23, 2025, Shanghai Indoor Stadium. 13,000 Chinese fans packed to witness their hometown hero Zhang Mingyang continue his legendary first-round finishing streak.
Introducing you first, fighting out of the blue corner, he is the Mountain Tiger!
What they got instead was one of the most shocking upsets in UFC history. Johnny Walker, coming off back-to-back knockout losses, was supposed to be another victim for the Mountain Tiger. Instead, he delivered a performance that silenced an entire nation and reminded the world why MMA is the most unpredictable sport on earth. This is the story of how a Brazilian journeyman pulled off the impossible in hostile territory, ending the most dominant finishing streak in modern UFC history with a comeback that nobody saw coming. The UFC hadn't been to mainland China since 2019. 6 long years of waiting, building anticipation, and growing the sport in the world's most populous country. When they finally announced their return, it wasn't just any event. It was a homecoming party for Zhang Mingyang. The Shanghai Indoor Stadium sold out in under a minute. 13,000 tickets gone faster than you could blink. The Chinese MMA community had been starving for this moment, and Zhang Mingyang was their golden boy. But let's talk about what made this fight so significant. This wasn't just the UFC's return to China. It was a statement about the global growth of MMA. Since Zhang Weili became China's first UFC champion,
Zhang Weili makes history!
At the last mainland event in Shenzhen, the sport had exploded across the country. Training gyms were opening everywhere. Young fighters were dreaming of UFC contracts, and the government was finally embracing mixed martial arts. The pressure on Zhang Mingyang was immense. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was carrying the hopes of 1.4 billion people. And based on his record, it seemed like a safe bet. Zhang Mingyang entered this fight as one of the most feared finishers in the UFC. His nickname, Mountain Tiger, wasn't just marketing, it was a warning. This man had been ending fights in the first round for over 6 years.
Sensational! Sensational!
That's the power that he has. That's why he's a finisher.
Let me put his streak into perspective. 12 consecutive wins, 12 first-round finishes. He hadn't seen a second round since 2018. In the UFC, he was 3-0 with an average fight time of under 3 minutes. His most recent victory, a brutal first-round knockout of former title challenger Anthony Smith that had people calling him a future champion. The numbers were staggering. In his UFC career, Zhang had landed 89% of his significant strikes. His takedown defense was 100%. He had never been dropped, never been hurt, never even looked uncomfortable. The man was a finishing machine operating at peak efficiency. A Reddit user, MMA analyst, posted before the fight, "Zhang Mingyang is the most dangerous first-round fighter in the UFC right now. Walker better survive the early storm or he's getting slept." That comment got over 2,000 upvotes. The consensus was clear. If this fight went past 5 minutes, it would be a miracle. But here's what made Zhang special. It wasn't just power. His fight IQ was incredible. He would study opponents, find their weaknesses, and exploit them immediately. Against Anthony Smith, he identified that Smith was vulnerable to body shots and ended the fight with a liver kick. Against his previous opponents, he found different paths to victory, but always in the first round. The Chinese media was calling him the future of the light heavyweight division. At just 27 years old, ranked 14th in the world, he was on the fast track to title contention. A win over Walker would likely put him in the top 10 and set up a massive fight with a ranked opponent. On the other side of the octagon stood Johnny Walker, and his recent history was the complete opposite of Zhang's dominance. The Brazilian had become the poster child for unfulfilled potential in the light heavyweight division. Remember Walker's early UFC run?
Why that happens is look at Johnny Walker with another fight!
3 explosive first-round knockouts that had people comparing him to legends. The shoulder dislocations.
Here you go. You're very happy. Well, don't do that again, sir. Please.
The worm celebrations, the pure entertainment value. Walker was must-see TV, but then reality hit hard. Corey Anderson knocked him out in 2019, and Walker's career became a roller coaster of brilliant moments, followed by devastating defeats. But nothing prepared him for 2024, the worst year of his professional life. First came the rematch with Magomed Ankalaev in January 2024. Walker got knocked out in the second round, his chin finally betraying him after years of wars. Then came the Volkan Oezdemir fight in June 2024, another knockout loss, this time in the first round. Walker was getting finished by the same type of power shots he used to deliver. The Brazilian, who once seemed destined for title contention, was now 1-4 in his last 5 fights.
He's done. Boom!
Yep,
Look at that.
He's done. He was already done.
The MMA community was brutal in their assessment. A popular MMA Twitter account posted, "Johnny Walker went from future champion to gatekeeper to getting gatekept." Sad to see, that tweet got 15,000 likes and sparked a debate about whether Walker should retire. But here's what made Walker's situation even more complicated. He kept switching camps. After the Anderson loss, he went to Ireland to train with John Kavanagh and SBG. Then he moved to Las Vegas to work with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture. Each move promised a new Walker, a more disciplined version of the wild Brazilian. But the results kept coming back the same. The betting odds for the Jung fight reflected this reality. Walker opened as a plus 280 underdog, meaning you'd win $280 for every $100 bet if he somehow pulled off the upset. The smart money was all on Jung, and for good reason. Another user, u/betting expert, wrote, "Walker by finish, free money." But that comment was heavily downvoted, with replies like, "Bro, Walker's been getting finished, not doing the finishing, and Jung is going to murder this man in front of his home crowd." The week leading up to the fight was all about Jung Mingyang. Chinese media followed his every move, from training sessions to media obligations. He looked relaxed, confident, almost bored by the attention. In interviews, he spoke about representing his country and putting on a show for the home crowd. Walker, meanwhile, seemed to be flying under the radar. His media obligations were minimal, his training footage scarce. Some observers wondered if he was even taking the fight seriously, or if he was just happy to be getting a paycheck in China.
You did pick up a bonus tonight as well, so Pada Baines, yes you did.
The press conference was telling. Jung spoke in Mandarin to thunderous applause, promising to finish Walker in the first round, just like all his other UFC opponents. Walker's response was classic Johnny Walker, unpredictable and entertaining, but lacking the killer instinct you'd want to see from a massive underdog. "I'm gonna kick him," Walker said with his trademark grin. "My kick is awesome, right?"
My kick is awesome, right?
But not the kind of fear you'd expect a dangerous contender to inspire. The weigh-ins were even more lopsided. Jung looked like a statue carved from granite, 205 pounds of pure muscle and bad intentions. Walker looked loose, almost too relaxed for someone about to face the most dangerous first-round finisher in the division. Social media was buzzing with predictions, and they were almost universally in favor of Jung. A poll on Reddit, r/MMA, asking, "How does Walker win this fight?" got responses like, "He doesn't, by running away for 15 minutes, and maybe if Jung gets food poisoning." When the cage door closed on August 23, 2025, the Shanghai indoor stadium was electric. 13,000 Chinese fans on their feet, ready to witness their hero continue his legendary streak. The atmosphere was unlike anything the UFC had experienced in years. The fight started exactly as everyone expected. Jung came out aggressive, looking to end things early. Walker, surprisingly, opened with a takedown attempt, not the wild striking exchange most people anticipated.
It's not the shot that they wanted.
No.
But Jung's wrestling was too good. He reversed immediately and took top position. For the next 4.5 minutes, it was all Jung Mingyang. He landed heavy ground and pound, transitioned smoothly between positions, and looked completely in control. Walker was surviving, but barely. The crowd was going wild with every significant strike Jung landed. The most dangerous moment came midway through the round. Jung caught Walker with a massive left hook that wobbled the Brazilian badly. The crowd erupted, sensing the finish was coming. Jung swarmed, landing combinations that had Walker covering up against the fence. But somehow, Walker survived. His chin, which had failed him in his last 2 fights, held up when it mattered most. He clinched, he moved, he did everything possible to make it to the bell. During the first round, someone commented, "Walker is getting mauled. This is hard to watch." The comment got hundreds of upvotes from people watching the same one-sided beatdown. When the horn sounded to end round 1, Jung looked fresh and confident. Walker looked like he'd been through a war. The scorecards were obvious. 10-9 Jung, probably 10-8 on some cards. If this pattern continued, Walker would be unconscious before the halfway point of round 2. Round 2 started with Jung looking to pick up where he left off. He came out aggressive again, hunting for the finish that had eluded him in the first round. But something was different about Walker. The Brazilian, who had looked lost and overwhelmed just minutes earlier, was now moving with purpose. The change in strategy was subtle but crucial. Instead of engaging in the wild exchanges that Jung thrived on, Walker started targeting the legs. Calf kicks, the technique that had become so important in modern MMA, became his primary weapon. The first kick landed clean on Jung's lead leg. The Chinese fighter barely reacted, but Walker had found his range. The second kick landed even harder, and this time Jung's expression changed slightly. The crowd, which had been roaring all night, started to quiet down.
Training is training, fight is fight. You cannot take nothing for training.
Training is training, and fighting is fighting, Walker would say later. You cannot take nothing from training. We just train to help each other. do not fight with our full potential. The third calf kick was the game changer. Walker stepped into it with bad intentions, his shin connecting perfectly with Zhang's calf muscle. The Mountain Tiger, who had never shown vulnerability in his UFC career, stumbled. The crowd gasped. Zhang tried to reset, but his movement was compromised. Walker sensed blood in the water and threw another kick, this one even harder than the last. Zhang's leg buckled, and for the first time in over 6 years, he looked human. The finish came quickly after that. Zhang, desperate to get the fight back to the ground where he felt comfortable, shot for a takedown, but his compromised leg betrayed him. Walker sprawled, and as Zhang tried to recover, another calf kick sent him crashing to the canvas. What happened next was pure violence. Walker pounced on his wounded opponent, landing hammer fists and punches from a standing position. Zhang, the man who had finished everyone in the first round, was now the one getting finished. Referee Mark Goddard gave Zhang every opportunity to recover, but the damage was too severe. At 2:37 of round 2, he stepped in to stop the fight. Johnny Walker had done the impossible. The moment the referee stopped the fight, the Shanghai indoor stadium fell silent. 13,000 people who had come to celebrate their hero's continued dominance were now witnessing his first defeat in over 6 years.
Johnny Walker tracks mud on the carpet in Shanghai.
Walker's celebration was classic Johnny Walker. The worm dance in the center of the octagon, pure joy and relief after months of doubt and criticism. But even in victory, he showed respect for his opponent and the Chinese fans.
Hello, Shanghai! 我爱中国!
A tough fighter from China, a lot of straight wins, Walker said in his post-fight interview. It's a really good experience to fight a guy that's very tough. You see, I'm durable. I got some punches in the face today, and I keep coming. And then I got him. This is MMA. Amazing, right? The social media reaction was immediate and intense. U/MMA shocked. Man, the way the crowd went completely silent. That comment, capturing the surreal nature of the moment, became one of the most upvoted commend on the pages. History. Another user wrote, Johnny Walker title run starts now, while others posted, Johnny Walker double champ journey begins now. The narrative had completely flipped in the span of 2 minutes and 37 seconds. For Zhang Mingyang, the loss was devastating on multiple levels. His 12-fight winning streak was over. His first-round finishing streak was over. His rapid rise up the rankings had hit a massive roadblock. But perhaps most importantly, he had let down an entire country that had invested their hopes in his success.
Mountain Tiger putting China on the map in the light heavyweight division.
The rankings implications were immediate. Zhang dropped to around number 15 in the light heavyweight division, while Walker moved up to number 13. More importantly, Walker had proven that his chin could still hold up under pressure and that his finishing ability was still there when the moment was right. This fight reminded everyone why MMA is the most unpredictable sport in the world. On paper, Zhang Mingyang should have won easily. In reality, Johnny Walker found a way to turn his biggest weakness, his vulnerability to being finished, into Zhang's downfall. The UFC's return to China was supposed to be a celebration of Chinese MMA. Instead, it became a reminder that in this sport, anything can happen when that cage door closes.